Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So happy you could come by. I had a question about how I took silhouette images that are digital and then did these inking ovals and squares and such over them. So I want to answer that question just by doing a video. I think it's easier. We're going to start out in Design Space, and then I'm going to take you over to my craft table and we'll actually do the inking there. So let's take off to Design Space. So here we are in Cricut Design Space, and I'll first share with you that my image is from Becky's Place, and you can find it. It's called Garden Silhouette, and you can find it at this address right here, and I'll also list it below in the information. And the sentiment I used on this card is from Anna's Lovely Layered Cards 2, and here's the number on that if you'd like to take that down. Again, I'll put that in the information below. The only other pieces I've used for this card are the shapes over here, and that's it. That's all I've used. So let's go ahead and move on with how I designed this card. So first of all, I decided that I wanted my card to be a finished 4" by 6". So I basically just put in a rectangle to make my card base or represent my card base. So I'm going to move that off to the side. Then I knew I wanted to have a card that just laid underneath a piece of cardstock just to frame it out a little bit. So we'll move that off to the side also, because we don't need that in our design. So the first thing I need to decide is where my focal image and my sentiment will fit nicely on the card. So I bring in both and position them where I think they will look good. Now you can see that this little swirly thing down here, it's not fitting onto my card, and if I put it up higher, then it's not going to fit. It's going to run into my image. So I'll show you how I fix that here in a minute. So I already had this cut from a card I had done before, this oval. And so I know I want this piece basically to fit over this piece, and I want this to show through. So I just decide exactly where I would like it to show through. And I just simply select all. I'm going to go ahead and just group that. So it's not going to move on me. Now, again, I don't want just part of that swirl just sitting there on the edge, and I can't erase it. I'll go ahead and just select this and show you that there's no way to slice that I can find. If someone knows a way, please let me know. All right, so right now it's a print then cut. So I just bring in a square here, and I try to go ahead. I select both and I slice, and look what happens. It's very strange. So I can't seem to slice that. So let's just go back. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to send it to the front, and I'm just going to cover that up. All right. I'm going to change this piece to white, which is the color of the cardstock I'm using. Now I'm going to take it all and I'm going to flatten. Now when I print this and then I'm going to cut it on my Cricut, it is going to cut this little piece right here. However, I can just slice across there and get rid of that. That is not a big deal. Put it on my paper slicer and just trim it off. Okay, so actually all you need to print then or cut is this piece and this piece. So you can just go ahead and hide that. You can hide these two pieces. There we go. And I hide them just by pressing this little I, and that just hides them. They're gone from sight. And then if I were actually going to print these right now, obviously I would hide all of this also, but I'm going to leave that information up there for you for just another minute or two. So now all I'm going to need to do is cut these two pieces. This is going to act as sort of a stencil, and this is actually your focal image with your front sentiment. All right, so I am going to print and cut these, and I will then meet you at my craft desk, and I'll show you how I actually put the ink over it. So here we are at the craft table, and I so apologize for my overhead light being right in the middle and glaring up off the glass. I usually cover that with masking tape, and I actually checked it through my camera, and I didn't see it when I checked, and I thought, well, that's weird, but maybe it's working out okay. And then it didn't, so I apologize for that. Anyway, you can see that I've taken the stencil. Now this is a stencil I've used before, so that's why there's already ink and paint splatters on it. And I'm taping it down over my focal image. I'm using masking tape, and you'll notice that when I pull that up, it will just pull up off the paper. It never even actually touches the actual focal image that goes on the front. So I have it all taped down, and I'm using 3 different shades of ink. I'm using sort of a cashmere light brown color. Now this changes midstream, I will tell you, and there's a reason. It's because you'll notice that every time I use this sponge, I wipe it a little bit on the mask or the frame before I actually touch the image that I'm inking. That way it doesn't make a real dark mark. But you'll notice that when I come in, I forget to do that one time, and it made that dark mark over there. And I didn't like that. So what I did to save it, and you'll notice I did it again just now. Anyway, so what I did to save it is I came in and I just changed my plan, and I went much darker on the bottom then, and then lightened up as I went towards the top. So I lost that beigey color, and I just went with a really dark green down at the bottom, and then moved up into the lighter. So now I'm taking a little bit of gold metallic paint, and I'm spraying some water, and I'm using my fan brush and sort of mixing that up a little bit and testing it there on the side. And then I'm just sort of splattering it around my image. Just adds a little bit of, interest to the focal image. So now it's all splattered, and I just take the masking tape off, and we have the big reveal. Then all that's left to do is just to assemble the card, which is basically just placing the layers on top of each other and gluing them in place. Thanks so much for your visit today. Any comments or questions, please leave them below, and I'll see you in my next video.